Welcome guys, in this video I will be ranking some tier 3 cannons based on their capabilities, weaknesses, and special features. So let's get started. The first cannon is the Odo Leonardo. This cannon fires 4 shells per salvo. It has a quite low damage and DPM considering it is a tier 3 item. It has a 2.94 seconds reload time at maximum, which is painfully long with that amount of firepower. To even make this cannon worse, it has a really bad accuracy at long ranges and has a high chance of ricocheting. Perhaps the developers need to buff or rework this cannon so that it is usable and worth the price. I personally do not recommend you to waste $1 on this cannon. So, I am going to put this cannon on the lowest rank. Next up, we have AK-130. This cannon has a 6-round salvo, which is a disadvantage for dueling at long ranges since each round deals a relatively small amount of damage. But its accuracy is what makes this cannon an item worth buying. With a 2.8 seconds reload time at maximum stats, the DPM on this cannon is mediocre for a tier 3 cannon. Since this cannon fires a higher caliber round than Odo Leonardo, it has a lower chance of ricocheting. If you're a beginner to this game, I highly recommend you to buy this cannon. With that all being said, I'm gonna put this cannon on C rank. Next, we have the Cupid railgun. This item can be obtained from last February's Valentine event. Although the design looks goofy, its firepower is no joke. Because this is a railgun, its rounds has lightning speed and cannot ricochet. This cannon is perfect for sniping, since it only fires 1 round with pinpoint accuracy after charging on each salvo, which deals a great amount of damage. Since it has a 4.2 seconds reload time, the DPM is relatively low for a tier 3 cannon. To balance the firepower of this cannon, its rounds cannot deal critical damage. I am going to put this cannon on A rank. Next is the Coala cannon. This epic cannon fires 2 rounds per salvo, which has a brief interval between shots. In the maximum stats, it has a 3.5 seconds reload time, which makes the DPM of this cannon balanced. What makes this cannon really powerful is that it can't ricochet and has a high chance of dealing critical damage if it hits the vulnerable spot on the enemy ship. The only downside of this cannon is its accuracy when firing sideways because of its high recoil. So to use at longer ranges, you should face the bow or stern of your ship to the enemy to reduce the recoil effect. I'll give this cannon a B rank. Next is the HPJ-45B. This cannon is special because it can target airborne enemies other than ships. This cannon uses the clip or magazine mechanism, which can be manually controlled. Each clip holds 6 rounds with a 3.5 seconds reload time between clips. It has a very small firepower in DPM compared to other tier 3 cannons because it is mainly an anti-air cannon. To increase accuracy, you shouldn't hold the fire button. Instead, just tap the fire button periodically or when your crosshair has recovered after a shot. Another advantage of this cannon is that it can target enemies automatically. To be honest, this cannon isn't worth to equip if your ship has strong air defense because it lacks firepower to combat enemy ships. Perhaps it's best used for grinding missions or when playing with a squad. I'll give this cannon a B rank. Next up is the Buckshot cannon. It has the same appearance as the AK-130, but it fires pellets instead of normal rounds. In my opinion, this is the most underrated cannon in Tier 3 because almost nobody uses it in online battles. It has a 2.8 seconds reload time and a 5.2 kilometers range at maximum. It fires a total of 12 pellets, which is divided into 3 shots at each salvo. This cannon has the highest DPM in the game, that if you manage to land all pellets. The reason players don't use this is because of its range and accuracy. Being a shotgun-type cannon, you need to bring your ship close enough to your enemies. That's if you manage to get close before being taken down. The pellet spread on this thing is also completely random, which makes things even more complicated. I personally use this cannon to grind damage on escort mode, because it can ruin your enemy's tanker ship in a few shots since it has a wider hull profile. A wider profile means more pellets will land if you fire. I'm gonna give a B rank for this cannon. Next is the Monarch cannon. This legendary cannon is a beast since the beginning of modern warships. Although it has a 5.95 seconds reload time, its damage can ruin your enemy's day in no time since it can't ricochet. It has a low DPM considering it is a single-shot cannon. To balance things, it can't deal critical damage at all. But because this cannon fires a single shot at each salvo, its accuracy is not affected by recoil, so you can fire at any positions without having to compensate for recoil. When firing at long ranges, I recommend you to wait until your crosshair has fully recovered before firing to increase the chance of landing your shots. The only downside of this cannon is its long reload time, which will get you in trouble if you miss a crucial shot. Therefore, some practice is needed to master this cannon. I'm going to rank this cannon on top. Next up is the Bers L50. It is a premium cannon from the January 2024 Battle Pass. I personally like to call this cannon Coala on steroids, since it has almost the same mechanics as Coala. It fires 4 instead of 2 rounds and has a 3.78 seconds reload that gives this cannon a really high DPM. Although it can't deal critical damage, it can't ricochet, which makes this cannon a lot scarier. The accuracy is mediocre since it fires more than 1 rounds. So positioning is needed to compensate for the recoil on this thing. In conclusion, this cannon is quite powerful as it can rain salvo after salvo in a brief period on your enemies. I've made a video showing how powerful this cannon is when it just came out on January. You can check it on the link above. I'll rank this cannon on A. Next is the Ehrlich cannon. I'd like to call this cannon Coala on steroids because its stats is almost similar to the Coala, but with a few upgrades. It fires a 4-round burst on each salvo, dealing quite a huge amount of damage. Although it has a 5.46 seconds reload time at maximum stats, the DPM on this thing is still high. This cannon is a high damage long reload type, which is best to pair with missiles or grenade launchers. This cannon also has a slight chance to deal critical damage and anti-ricochet, which makes it even more powerful. Its only weakness is the recoil, which needs to be compensated when firing at long ranges or fast-moving ships. With all being said, I'm ranking this cannon at A. Next one is everybody's favorite cannon, the TMF-155. It has a 2-shot salvo with a 6.3 seconds of reload time at maximum. What makes this cannon powerful is its pinpoint, railgun-like accuracy and firepower. It has a really high chance of dealing critical damage. Other than that, its shells also can't ricochet. The only downside of this cannon is its brutal recoil that makes the second shot in the salvo completely misses its target. So it also needs positioning to ensure its accuracy at medium to long ranges. Although the DPM seems like a joke, it can tear down a ship in a few salvos if you're using Kaio or Arkansas. Overall, this cannon deserves S rank. Moving on, we have the Armat. This cannon is used to be powerful before the nerf, which makes its projectiles can bounce off. It has a 2.8 seconds reload at maximum stats and a mediocre DPM. It fires 4 shells in a very brief time, which makes its recoil very small. What makes this cannon powerful is that its shells have a 50% chance of dealing critical damage. This is the highest in the game. But, just like any non-single-shot cannon, it needs position compensation to further improve its accuracy. Just to make this cannon worse, the damage output is not stable at all because of the high chance of ricocheting. Overall, this cannon fits on SC rank. Next up is the HPJ-38. This rare cannon has a 2.1 seconds reload time at maximum. It has a slight chance of dealing critical damage, but its shells can ricochet. It fires 4 shells in a single salvo, which has a brief time between shots that causes only a small amount of recoil. Although it has a shorter maximum firing range than other cannons, its reload time and DPM is what makes this cannon worth trying. The significant downside of this cannon is its accuracy. I'll give this cannon a B rank. Moving on is the railgun. This cannon originally comes from the Zumwalt ship, but later it became a dollar item in the shop. This cannon possesses insane accuracy and speed, just like any other railgun in this game. It can fire a 2-shot salvo at 4.2 seconds of reload time. Its shells can deal critical damage but can't ricochet, which makes it just as powerful as any railguns. The only downside of the non-single-shot railgun is the recoil and, as usual, needs position compensation. This cannon is great for beginners to practice with and get familiar to firing a railgun-type weapon. Overall, this cannon deserves a B rank. For the last cannon on the list, we have the Mark 45 Mod 4 rare cannon. This cannon has the shortest reload time among other Tier 3 cannons, which is 1.4 seconds at maximum. Though it doesn't deal a great amount of damage, its DPM is balanced by its lightning speed reload. To balance things, it comes with a mediocre accuracy, but it can deal critical damage. Being a 130mm cannon, its shells can ricochet. Since it has a small recoil, position compensation is not mandatory to ensure that your shell lands. Overall, I am gonna put the Mark 45 on B rank. So that's it for this Tier 3 cannon rank video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to leave a like and comment if you'd like to see more videos like this.